Good morning, Cherries fans. AFC Bournemouth got knocked out of the Carabao Cup 2-0 to Burton Albion last night, where the highlights were the lowlights. I know that we're tin pot, but oh my goodness, 3 floodlight failures last night. What kind of organisation has some kind of issues? Oh, can you put 15p in the meter? And we're back on. Thanks very much, tin pot. Unfortunately, what an abject performance last night. A lot of Cherries fans on Twitter and on the forums going home very disappointed. Didn't go myself, but I'm reading a lot of opinion, and there are not many positives to come out of what we saw last night. It reminds me of Millwall in the FA Cup, where Eddie just threw a load of players together and then we had what we had, and we were awful in that. I think that was 2-0 too, maybe even 3. Problem is, that cup result at Millwall then resulted in, we collapsed in the league after that, and we put in a horrendous run of results that basically made us look over our shoulders when beforehand we were in quite a comfortable position. The momentum within the squad and the team performances had just been completely lost, and that's the danger again. Now, is it Eddie's fault? Is it the players' fault? Not too sure, but I was listening to this on TalkSport this morning, and this was Ian Holloway's view about whether it's players or the manager.
You're back in the Premier League bosses that made the changes last night.
I am big time, and I, for the reason that Chris is talking about here, you know, I'm not saying what Tony Gale said was different. He feels that this has been an ongoing thing with West Ham, and he felt that their manager didn't put enough. I mean, can you imagine me going out with any game and saying, I don't think you're going to win, lads, and I don't, God, it's a disgrace to sport. We're all going out there to see how good we could be. And no one picks a team to deliberately lose. No one does. So you expect that team, when you see the list of names, I got them all in front of me here, Al. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when you've got Rojo, you got Jones, you got Toonzeba, you got Wan-Bissaka, just paid 50 mil for, Fred, Pogba, you don't expect that team not to be able to beat Rochdale, do you? So, and why is Ollie going to get the blame for that? Do you know what I mean? Come on, liven up. It's got to be the players. When are they going to step to the plate, take some blooming responsibility for the money they're earning and the job they're supposed to be doing?
So, interesting there, and he says it's on the players. Well, we'll go through the lineup shortly, but we'll just have a bit of opinion that's come in on Twitter. You can see these tweets at the bottom of the screen here. Ollie said could not care about less about this cup. Neither could Eddie, neither could the 11 players on the pitch, neither could the floodlights. Tommy Heffernan's Poodle said, again, 2 things we can look forward to every season. 1, cup games. 2, form after Dubai, for fuck's sake. Joe, I'm moaning, but I should be delighted the club have gone to such efforts to ensure that I don't have to endure another home cup game with thousands of people who don't understand how barcodes or turnstiles work. Yeah, I hear what you said, Joe. Michael said, name me a better duo than AFC Bournemouth and going out of the cup. Form after Dubai, as one of the other tweeters said. Dylan, Jordan Ibe gave his t-shirt to a fan after the lights went out for the 3rd time, but it wasn't full time. We'll come on to that later, but what a debacle with the lights. Just matched what was going on the pitch, really. Jamie Williams booed them off. Disgraceful performance and team selection, not for the first time. Deserve no fans to come away to these cup games from now on. So angry after that. Neil, dear AFC Bournemouth, imagine working a 14-hour shift on the promise of a nutritional meal when you get home to find your partner, very capable of cooking, has offered up a cold turd on the plate. Delicious. That's his mood tonight. Yeah, James AFCB, fair to say that was shit. The team put out, what does that say? More than enough talent to win that match, but not playing like that. Only point I would say is after 3 stoppages, the match should have been cancelled. Glad it wasn't, as Burton deserved the win. Fair play for that. Starch, good point this. Wonder how much longer we'll keep the Cups point system for. Surely no one will want to fucking go soon. Yeah, agree with that. Grockle Free, it's laughable that fans expect any more at cup games. What's the phrase about doing the same thing over and over again but expecting a different result? And then another tweet from Jamie saying, if he thinks that team is good enough to grace the Premier League, then he's simply taking the piss. A number of players there aren't good enough. Himself, Simpson, Sermon, Ibe, and then still have massive question marks over the likes of Mepham and Solanke at Premier League level. Jamie Williams, again, he was irate. Chat to him afterwards, and he couldn't emphasise enough how disgraced he was after that performance. People clapping the players can fuck off. What are you clapping for? A complete lack of effort, quality, cohesion, desire, you name it, none of it was there. Ultimately, that's what's on the manager, as I let them know at full time. Not just this game, but numerous away cup games. And I'll finish with a couple of them. Lord William Snootsworth, we didn't play that well. Our travelling fans had 28 minutes added on time and a round trip of 370 miles on a miserable Wednesday night. My God, hats off to those wonderful, loyal Cherries supporters. You are brilliant. And yeah, I completely admire you. Finally, John Paul, people using the phrase those players should be good enough don't understand that 11 individuals can't be thrown together and expected to just perform. They haven't played together all season. It's on Eddie. Now, this is what really interests me. I'm just reminding myself of the team lineup. I probably could quote it, but then I'll probably get someone wrong. In my mind, the nucleus of a decent side was actually there, though. I mean, of course, you've got Travers, who was the absolute hero last time for us. But then, you know, Jack Simpson, Chris Mepham and Simon Francis have played at the back together before. Lloyd Kelly, he was the unknown, of course, playing left back, hasn't had any competitive football. And then in the middle you got Lewis Cook and Andrew Sermon, who I'm sure as shit have played centre midfield together before in the Premier League. There's at least a couple of matches. And then, of course, you had Kilkenny, Ibe and Fraser. Now, Kilkenny, by all accounts, didn't have the greatest games, but hey, not many did. According to some, Jordan Ibe was one of the only ones that could emerge with any credit. Harry Wilson came on, was ineffective, and Solanke was replaced by Dan Juma as well. It was an attendance of 2,500 at Burton Albion. That's the police probably coming to arrest Eddie after what was a dreadful managerial performance, so say some fans. What's your opinion on that? We'd love to know in the comments about what you think. I mean, does that team look like one that's been just slung together? There is such a trade-off, isn't there, of Premier League form versus the cup competitions. And historically, when we started in the Premier League, we did used to treat the cup competitions with complete disdain. Most notably the FA Cup, where we could effectively put out a reserve side and give players a whole week off. Unfortunately, as time has gone on, even though we've been more and more comfortable in the Premier League, we've still treated the FA Cup, at least, with disrespect. Now, the League Cup, Carling Cup, whatever it's called, with that, not so much. We've had a couple of quarter-final berths, and, you know, namely getting knocked out against Chelsea. And, you know, you've got to remember that we are not the only side to have been knocked out of the Cup last night. Even Spurs did on penalties. Now, that was on the Tuesday night, and of course Sheffield United as well. And interestingly, I saw the front page of the iPaper today, and this was the little segment it had. So even they're not shocked. Even they're not shocked by it because they don't mention Bournemouth. It's not a shock anymore that Bournemouth get knocked out. And you'll hear it on TalkSport, and I'm sure that Adrian Durham this afternoon is going to wax lyrical about how Eddie Howe's doing a bad thing, about treating the cup competitions as, you know, second/third rate. I can see why he did it at the start, but if we're supposed to have this kind of in-depth, this squad depth that we've got, then he should be able to play players that he played last night. So in my mind, Ian Holloway in a way is probably right. It is, part of it is on the players. Was there a little bit of overconfidence coming into this game? You know, we beat Southampton 3-1 at St Mary's, and we were riding the crest of a psychological wave. You know, I have to say though, despite all of this, Burton Albion, fair play, wonderful club, and by all accounts they did deserve to win it. They outplayed us, outfought us, stronger in the tackle, had more desire, had more will, and, you know, made us look like the League One side at times. So can I just say that this is not a slur on on your performance at all, because you completely deserve to win it. And like James Rood said on the tweet, I'm sort of glad that the match managed to conclude last night, because it would have been harsh on you if it had to be, you know, abandoned and played again. And had we won it, you know, it wouldn't have been a fair reflection. Fingers crossed you can really carry on with your cup form that you did incredibly well with last season. I mean, to get into the semi-finals, you know, it's something that as a Cherries fan I dream of, notably the FA Cup, because it would be a Wembley performance. But you know, what you did last season, fair play, and Nigel Clough has got you well organised, well oiled, and you know, I've seen the highlights. Your movement on and off the ball really good, and just made us look like a team of donkeys. A number of players for AFC Bournemouth, you know, did underperform, and maybe if they were playing at their best, then it might have been a different story. But you know, I think again you prevented us from playing. So Mark Bennett's coffee, need a strong one after that. It's just such a shame now that this has happened, because on Saturday now there are two teams coming into this. It's going to be a pulsating game. West Ham got dicked 4-0 at Oxford. We got dicked 2-0. There are some players that, you know, that will likely be starting, but now you're kind of thinking, now this is probably given more of a problem to Eddie than what is, you know, say if we'd won, then the positive momentum would have carried on, and then Solanke would have probably kept his place. Now he's got a bit of a headache now. So is it a case of, right, Solanke had a poor game, so are we going to put Josh King back up front? He's been relatively effective on the left-hand side. Or are we going to start him again? Harry Wilson came on, didn't overly do much, which has often been the case, apart from his goals. However, you know, he is becoming more of an integral player in terms of his, retention of the ball. He's getting to understand the movements of his, fellow midfielders and defend. He combined quite well with Jack Stacey on the right, for instance, against Southampton. But it's a real sort of dilemma now in terms of squad selection. It's absolutely mad, and I'm just disappointed for the fans that travelled. Really disappointed, and I feel for you. It was funny, like I had a kind of should I, shan't I thing, like even up until like 12 o'clock that afternoon, that lunchtime, and I was really tempted, but I've got so much work on and doing these YouTube videos. I mean, I should be working at the moment, but I just thought I need to put this one out, and I called it and said no, I won't. And obviously, as a fan that was at home, I do try to get to as many games as I can. I can't get to them all. Most away games in the league, there will be ones that I can't, but certainly this cup game, when I got work to do, I thought, right, I'm going to have to put that first. But there are fans that have made sacrifices. There are fans out there that have got half days off work to attend that, and it's just so disappointing for them. And they've come home later than planned after 28 minutes stoppage time. The lights went on and off and on and off. The game was nearly abandoned. Well, Burton Albion announced that it was. I'm not surprised if there were a couple of fans that actually went home. And then all of a sudden it was back on again. It just seemed to be an absolute disaster. So fans were sort of getting back home sort of 12:30, 1 o'clock, disgruntled, disappointed, and now annoyed at Eddie Howe for treating this competition with complete disdain. So the moral of the story is, if you're an AFC Bournemouth fan and you're wanting to watch us in the Cup, don't expect anything. If we've got a home draw, it's fine, and we can usually scrape by. Case in point, Forest Green Rovers. Thanks to Mark Travers, we got through. But again, that was a poor performance. In the FA Cup, don't expect anything. If you're going to buy tickets, just be wary that you're going to be watching something possibly quite poor. Maybe that's me being pessimistic, but I'm only going on facts of the last few seasons where we've been absolutely diabolical. The FA Cup and League Cup are second and third rate tournaments, and it's all on the Premier League. Now, this shit performance against Burton will only be justified if we, cue the pun, hammer West Ham. If we beat West Ham at the weekend, then maybe all is forgiven. However, if we come up with a turgid, lifeless performance, then you've got to say that this match has contributed, and whatever it is that's gone wrong, I think it's I think it's numerous factors. Part of it, I just think players expected to turn up and win, which is absolutely dreadful against a side that's doing all right in League One and has proved that they have pedigree to go further in the competition. If we don't beat West Ham, then this could be the horrible domino effect where we start falling over against teams that we should be getting points against. All will be revealed, I suppose. I'm really disappointed. I'm not quite angry because I didn't travel, but I can appreciate so much if you feel fucked off after that. Leave your thoughts below as to what you exactly think was the problem last night. Was it on individuals? Was it the formation? Was it just the mindset as they went into the fixture? I'd love to know. I'm not very good at sort of detangling sometimes where things went wrong. So this is where I probably need your help. Leave it in the message below. And we'll be looking forward to the West Ham game a bit later on in the week. What day is it today? Thursday? Tomorrow then. And something special for you. We've got an AFC Bournemouth player of the past from the 80s, and it's going to be a regular feature on this YouTube channel. I'm going to tease it. If you subscribe, you'll get the video, and then click the bell after you do. Then as soon as that video comes out, then you will get notified. It involves a player from the 80s who played a number of games for AFC Bournemouth, and every week he's going to be doing his regular predictions on the Premier League fixtures. Interesting. It's kind of like your Super Six, but on back of the net. But really interesting, and we're going to hopefully, as the season progresses, have him on every week and just ask him a bit of a topical question each week. But this week it's all about the predictions, and of course I'll be doing my preview too, and I just hope I can feel a bit more positive tomorrow. Anyway, thank you very much, Cherries, and I will see you in the next video. See you later. Back in the day! Oscar! Back in the day! Oscar!